need a better circle. Better circle. At least in the church, we need a better circle. You know all about circles, don't you? You made circles when you were little kids. You would all join hands and you'd make one circle, and you would go as fast as you could, and you would stumble all over each other, and then you would fall down and giggle. Oh, those were good circles, but the church needs a better circle. We've used that circle so much that I think we've come to believe that there is no circle better than this circle. But there are limitations to that kind of a circle. Oh, I know when you gather together a bunch of people or want to pray, you gather hands and you like to have a circle, and that's good. And if you're watching the ball game, you know that to make plans, they've got to get together in what they call a huddle. But it's really a circle, and it's a good circle for sports. We just need a better circle for church. You see, it's because church is a family. At least it should be. A family of God. And that's what the gospel was all about. James and John, wanting key seats in the kingdom of heaven. But it's more than just about seating arrangements. It's about family. Wasn't it interesting that James and John did not come to Jesus and said, I want to talk to you about who's going to be at your right hand and your left? Could it be, Jesus, that it would be Moses and Elijah? That's not a bad choice, is it? But no, they said, Jesus, it's going to be me, isn't it? And my brother here, what about the other side for him? Of all the great prophets in the Bible, it's going to be me, Jesus. It's going to be me. See, it happens that way in families sometimes. It happens that way in the church. We tend to gather the circles so close together and look at each other so much that we're comparing halos. And we wonder just how it's going to be for us. We know it's going to be good in the kingdom of heaven because we say, are there any stars in my crown? Not good enough to have a crown. You got to have stars in it too. You see, we can become very, very, very selfish when we just have that kind of a circle. The church family needs a better circle. It works for a while, but you see, the church, when it has a circle like that, we're just all looking at each other. That's good. We're enriching each other and we're building each other up, but is that what the church is about? Well, someone has said the church is the only institution that's designed for those people who are not its members. And that's partially true. Because you see, we do have to look inward. And that's what pastoral care is all about. And that's what discipleship is all about. And that's why we have Bible study. Because the people within the circle need to be enriched. But what about outside the circle? That circle doesn't work for those outside the circle. So, another possibility is that instead of having the circle that's going around like so, we simply turn around. And we gather hands and we're facing outward now. And the circle is an outward circle. But that's not good either. Because then we're not taking care of the people inside the circle. So you've got a choice. You've got to be either inside, looking at people inside the circle, or you're outside, paying no attention to the ones inside and looking only at the outside. Either one is not a good picture of what the church should be about. So what's a better circle? What's a better circle to understand what we need to do as a church? Consider this possibility. Let's have a circle like a conga line. where everybody has their hands on the other shoulder. You don't have to kick. You don't have to kick. But you see, the movement, you're not stumbling all of each other. You're moving in rhythm. You're moving forward. You're moving with tenacity. And you can see yourself. You can see the others inside the circle. And you can look out and see those people that are outside the circle. Now, once that happens, you have an additional problem. You see, too many times we look inside the circle and we become so acquainted with what we have inside the circle, and we have done that circle so much that if we try the new circle, where we're looking in and out, we will take some of the language that we have heard inside the circle and toss it out to people who know nothing about church. See, a lot of times when we reach out to people, we're reaching out to people to get them to join the church. And then we'll minister to them when they join the church. But there are a lot of people out there who will never join the church, who will never even attend the church. And we have to minister to them because they are hurting, because these are people who have needs. And it is our responsibility to minister to those needs. So we have to talk that language. We have to understand that language and communicate that language with them. It's not just enough to try to bring a person to a realization of Jesus Christ. We have to help them understand that we care for them even if they don't come in the door. Now, we do want them to come in, of course. And that's part of the responsibility, too. We don't want to just go out and try to bring somebody to a realization of Jesus Christ and then just dump them. No. One of the things I liked most about the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association is when Billy had his crusades, and you saw them on television, but you didn't see what I'm about to tell you. And that is when Billy would give the invitation and the people would come down, the thousands of people would come down, it didn't end there. Because there were then, after the people had left the stadium, hundreds of people in various rooms with cards that had been filled out by the people who came forward. And they would come for various reasons. Some would come because they were already attending a church and they simply wanted to go forward at a Billy Graham crusade. Some were coming for rededication. Some were coming to find Jesus Christ for the first time. Some were coming because they were drunk. All coming for different reasons, but all coming because they needed something they didn't have. And Jesus Christ was answering the call. So they would take those cards and they would try to find out the need. And then if the person had mentioned something about a Baptist church or Methodist church, Presbyterian church, Episcopal church, then they would look at the map, see where that person lived, and try to find a church near them. And what would happen to those cards is then by the next morning or just later in the day, the pastor of the church that was nearest the person who came forward would get the card and begin the follow-up to minister to that person. And the deal was you minister to that person whether that person will come to your church or not. You find out what that person needs, how that person is hurting, and you deal with the problem. And start speaking the language. You see, once we change the circle, sometimes we have to know a new language to deal with people that have never heard the language that you hear inside the church. You've got to communicate. I remember a story about when Pablo Picasso's place was ransacked, his home was ransacked. An intruder came in. He saw the guy. He saw the guy that came in. And so he said to the police, "I'll draw you a picture." And the police determined that the intruder was either a nun, a washing machine, or the Eiffel Tower. We have to know the language. We have to communicate. But we have to start with something very simple. Something very simple, but it takes some unlearning of things that we've known for so long. We have to begin with a circle. A circle that is not our ordinary circle. It's a different circle, a new circle, a circle of communication, a circle of caring from within and without, a circle of love, a circle that brings us all closer to the God we will serve through Jesus Christ. A new